For just $1, an infertile rancher bought a ranch and found a pregnant girl in the stable. Eli Tanner wiped the sweat from his forehead as he looked at the holographic ad floating above his dusty compad. The screen flickered under the weak sunlight of the frontier planet, showing a nearly abandoned ranch for $1. $1. It seemed impossible, yet the old ranch stretched before him in the distance, a ghost of what it might have once been. Rusted solar wind turbines groaned in the hot wind, their blades turning slowly like tired arms. The main barn leaned slightly to one side, and the fence was broken in several places. But Eli felt something in his chest he hadn't felt in years. Hope. He had been alone for a long time. Middle-aged and infertile, Eli's life had been spent on small ranches and cramped apartments in the frontier cities. He had worked hard, saved every credit, and hoped one day to own a place of his own. And now, here it was, a chance to start fresh, in the middle of nowhere, on a planet that still had quiet sunsets and empty plains. Eli mounted his hover horse, Dust, which whinnied softly as he adjusted the reins. His robotic dog Kilo padded beside him, its sensors flickering as it scanned the environment. The journey from the spaceport to the ranch had been long and dry, but Eli didn't mind. He liked quiet. He liked the feel of dust under his boots and wind against his face. As they approached the main gate, Eli slowed Dust to a careful trot. The place smelled of old hay and rusted metal, the way abandoned places always did. He touched the gate, and it swung with a loud creak. "Well," he muttered, "if it's haunted, I guess we'll find out soon enough." The barn was the first place he explored. Its wooden walls had holes where storms had torn through, and small creatures, probably mechanical rodents left over from the old ranch systems, scurried in the shadows. Eli stepped inside and called out, "Hello? Anyone here?" For a moment there was nothing but the sound of the wind whistling through the broken roof. Then a soft whimpering reached his ears. Eli froze. Whimpering? In a place like this? He carefully moved toward the sound, stepping over broken crates and rusted tools. Behind a stack of hay, he saw her. A young girl, barely 16, crouched on the ground, her clothes torn and dusty. Her eyes widened as she saw him, fear written clearly across her face. She held her stomach with both hands, and something about the way she moved made Eli's heart tighten. You shouldn't be here," she whispered, her voice trembling. "They're coming. They'll find me." Ellie knelt down, keeping his hands visible. "Who's coming? And are you okay?" The girl shook her head, tears streaking her dirty cheeks. I can't. I'm pregnant," she managed to say, her voice barely audible. "I don't know what to do." Eli blinked, processing her words. Pregnant? Here? In the middle of a ghost ranch? He had helped raise animals and machines, but this was human life in danger. His first instinct was to call for help, but he knew the frontier was too far from any patrols. If anyone came, it would be too late. "All right," he said finally, in a calm voice he didn't feel. "You stay here. I'll help you." The girl looked at him suspiciously, as if she weren't sure whether to trust him. But something in Eli's voice, steady, unshakable, made her nod slowly. He helped her to her feet, noticing how frail she seemed, almost like a bird ready to fly but too weak to lift off. "Do you have a name?" he asked. "Lyra," she whispered. "Just Lyra." "Well, Lyra," Eli said, "you're safe here for now. My name's Eli Tanner. I own this ranch now. $1. Funny, isn't it?" He gave a small smile, hoping to ease her tension. She didn't smile back, but her shoulders relaxed just a little. As the day went on, Eli explored the ranch with Lyra trailing behind. He inspected the water supply, the barns, and the pastures, noting what could be fixed and what was beyond repair. Lyra mostly stayed silent, her eyes wide as she took in the abandoned machines and broken fences. Every now and then, she whispered warnings about them, the people or beings that were chasing her. Eli didn't press her for details. He had learned long ago that trust had to be earned. Around midday, Eli noticed strange symbols carved into the wooden walls of the barn and the stables. They were intricate, almost alien in design, glowing faintly in the sunlight that filtered through the cracks. He frowned. "These aren't normal," he muttered. Kilo's sensors beeped rapidly, scanning the area with alertness. "What are those?" Lyra asked nervously, clutching her stomach again. "I don't know," Eli admitted. "But whoever was here left more than just broken fences and old machines." The day passed slowly. Eli fixed what he could, patched holes, and set up a temporary shelter for Lyra in a corner of the barn. He used old blankets and crates to make a small bed, and she hesitated before lying down, finally closing her eyes as if she hadn't slept in days. Eli walked outside to watch the sunset. The twin moons of the planet began to rise, casting pale light over the plains. For a moment, the wind was quiet, and he allowed himself a sigh of relief. He thought about his own life, about years of emptiness and loneliness, and for the first time in a long time, he imagined a future that wasn't empty. Maybe this ranch and this girl could change that. Then, without warning, a faint hum filled the air. Eli froze. Kilo growled low in his chest, sensors flashing. From the horizon, a small glint of metal reflected the moonlight. Something was coming. He squinted, trying to make it out. Lyra stirred in the barn behind him, her instincts alert even in her weakened state. Eli's heart raced. He had known the frontier could be dangerous, but he hadn't expected danger to find him on the first day. Not like this. "Stay here," he whispered to Lyra, though he wasn't sure he could protect her from whatever was coming. He grabbed a long metal pipe from the barn, more for comfort than as a weapon, and moved toward the edge of the property where the glint was growing larger. Dust, the hover horse, stepped beside him, whinnying softly, while Kilo scanned the approaching figure. It was hard to make out in the dim light, but it moved with a purpose, slow and deliberate, like a hunter. Eli's mind raced. He didn't know if it was human or something else, but he knew he couldn't back down. The figure stopped at the edge of the property. It didn't speak, didn't signal, but Eli could feel its presence. A chill ran down his spine. He tightened his grip on the pipe, feeling the weight of the ranch, the land, and Lyra's safety pressing on him all at once. "Who are you?" he called, his voice steady even though his heart pounded. No answer, only the hum, growing slightly louder, like a machine breathing. Eli realized with a sinking feeling that this ranch, abandoned and broken, was far more than it seemed. The land itself held secrets, and somehow Lyra and her unborn child were part of them. The figure stepped closer, revealing a metallic glint under the moonlight, like armor, but not exactly human. Eli's mind raced. Whatever was coming for Lyra, it wasn't ordinary. It wasn't just people, and he knew one thing for certain: there was no turning back now. He took a deep breath, looking at Lyra's sleeping figure through the barn doorway. He had made a choice. He would protect her. Whatever came next, this ranch, this land, and the girl inside the barn would be his fight. The wind howled again across the plains, carrying dust and the faint echo of a life that had been abandoned. Eli stood his ground, gripping the pipe, waiting for the unknown to reveal itself. And somewhere in the shadows, Lyra's quiet whimpers reminded him why he couldn't fail. For the first time in years, Eli Tanner felt alive. And he knew that this $1 ranch had just become the most important place in the galaxy. The first night at the ranch passed with uneasy silence. Eli couldn't sleep. He sat outside, staring at the twin moons hanging low over the dusty plains. Lyra slept in the barn, a thin blanket wrapped around her shoulders. The faint hum from the horizon had disappeared, but Eli knew it wasn't gone for good. Whoever or whatever was looking for her would come back. Kilo padded beside him, tail low, ears twitching. Dust nickered softly, sensing Eli's unease. "We can't let them find her," Eli whispered, more to himself than to anyone else. "I don't care who or what it is. They won't take her." The morning sun rose slowly, painting the plains in shades of orange and gold. Eli felt a small sense of calm, at least enough to start exploring the ranch properly. He knew that this wasn't just a simple, abandoned property. Something about the land, the barn, and the strange symbols Lyra had pointed out yesterday told him there was more hidden beneath the surface. "Stay close," he said to Lyra, who followed him cautiously. She seemed nervous but curious, her eyes scanning every corner of the dilapidated property. Eli began examining the barn in detail. The symbols carved into the walls were faintly glowing, almost as if they were alive. When he pressed his hand against one of the carvings, a soft hum resonated through his fingertips. He stepped back, eyes wide. "These aren't just marks," he said. "They're some kind of signal." "Or a lock." Lyra tilted her head, whispering. "I've seen symbols like these before, back at the Skyfleet base." She didn't explain more, but Eli could tell it frightened her. He wanted to ask, but he also wanted to let her set the pace. They moved deeper into the barn, where broken crates and dust-covered machinery littered the floor. Eli noticed a trap door partially hidden beneath a rotting rug. Curious, he pried it open and discovered a ladder leading down into darkness. He signaled for Lyra to stay back. "This might be dangerous," he warned. The ladder creaked as Eli descended. He entered a small underground room, walls lined with blinking consoles and old tech that looked both advanced and strangely ancient. Holographic screens flickered to life, revealing maps of the planet, ranch systems, and even the surrounding area. Eli's jaw dropped. This ranch wasn't just land, it was a hub, a base, a machine. Lyra followed cautiously, her eyes widening. This is why they were after me, she whispered. They know the ranch has the tech. They know what I carry. Eli frowned. What you carry, my child, Lyra said, her voice trembling. It isn't like other babies. They want it. I don't know why. Eli took a deep breath, running his hands through his hair. He had always been alone. He had never imagined protecting anyone other than himself. But now, with this fragile girl and her unborn child depending on him, something inside him shifted. He would protect her, no matter the cost. The underground room held more than just technology. There were robotic drones, old but still functioning, lined up like silent sentinels. Eli activated one with a touch, and it hummed softly, sensors scanning him and then the room. The drones seemed to recognize him as a new authority. It was almost as if the ranch itself had decided he was its new guardian. This place, Lyra whispered. This was once a Skyfleet agricultural outpost. They experimented with hybrid crops and other things. Her voice trailed off, eyes wide with fear. I think my child is part of that experiment. Eli's mind raced. A hybrid child? Advanced ranch tech? And the girl he had just met, carrying the future of something unknown, he realized that the quiet frontier life he had imagined would never exist here. Not now. He decided to set up defenses immediately. Using the old drones and some salvaged equipment from the underground room, Eli began preparing. He rigged the barn doors to lock automatically, placed sensors around the perimeter, and armed the drones with energy pulses. Dust and Kilo helped in their own ways. Dust's hooves clattered through the barn to make noise traps, and Kilo's sensors mapped every approach. Meanwhile, Lyra watched quietly, clearly unsettled by the machines coming alive again. You're really good at this, she said finally. It's like the ranch knows you're different. Eli shrugged, trying to appear casual. I've lived on the frontier long enough. You learn to make friends with machines. But inside, he knew it was more than that. The ranch had chosen him, just as fate had brought him to Lyra. Hours passed, and the sun dipped low again. Eli and Lyra returned to the barn, sitting on crates while Kilo rested at their feet. Lyra hesitated before speaking. I've been running for weeks. They come from the sky, faster than anything on the ground. They won't stop until they have me and the child. Eli nodded. Then we have to be ready. And we have to stay ahead of them. That night, as Eli and Lyra slept in the barn, a faint vibration hummed beneath their feet. Kilo's sensors beeped frantically. Eli opened his eyes to see a shadow flicker outside the barn doors. The glint of a metallic object reflected the moonlight. Someone or something was approaching. Eli grabbed a makeshift staff, ready to defend. Dust whinnied, pawing at the barn floor. Sensing danger, Lyra woke, fear in her eyes, but Eli put a hand on her shoulder. Stay calm, he whispered. We've got this. Outside, the shadow moved closer, revealing itself as a scout drone. Sleek, humanoid in shape, but clearly mechanical. It stopped at the edge of the barn, scanning the surroundings. Eli felt his chest tighten. They were being hunted, and the hunters were precise. Then, unexpectedly, the drone spoke in a synthetic voice. The host detected, target identified, child. Surrender immediately. Eli's grip tightened on the staff. Not gonna happen, he muttered under his breath. Suddenly, the barn's defenses activated. Hidden laser turrets whirred to life. Sensors locked onto the drone. A pulse shot out, forcing it to retreat slightly. Kilo barked, circling, while Dust reared up, ready to kick. The little automated army they had assembled was alive and ready. Lyra stared in awe. The ranch, it's protecting us. Yes, Eli said, determination hardening in his voice. And so am I. The drone retreated, vanishing into the night. Eli knew it wouldn't be the last attack. Whoever, or whatever, was after Lyra would keep coming. But now he had an edge. The ranch itself, the hidden technology, and his own fierce will. As dawn approached, Eli stood on the porch of the barn, looking out over the plains. He had a plan. They would fortify the ranch, use the drones as scouts, and prepare for whatever came next. Lyra sat beside him, exhausted but alert, a small bundle of determination in her arms. For the first time, she smiled faintly. Maybe we can survive this, she said. Eli nodded. We will. We have to. This land, this ranch, it's not just a home anymore. It's a fortress. And we're the guardians now. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but for the first time, Eli felt hope. Not just for himself, but for Lyra, and the child she carried. The quiet, lonely frontier he had dreamed of was gone. But in its place, something greater had begun. A fight, a bond, and a secret that could change everything, and somewhere in the darkness beyond the plains, the Skyfleet, or whatever remained of it, watched. Their eyes were on the ranch, on Lyra, and on the child whose very existence could change the future of the frontier. Eli Tanner clenched his fists. They would not win. Not while he still drew breath. The ranch hummed softly beneath the rising sun, alive with old tech and new purpose. Eli knew one thing for certain. Whatever came next, he and Lyra would face it together, and the secrets of the ranch would help them survive. The night fell over the ranch with a deep, eerie silence. Eli Tanner stood at the edge of the pasture, dust snorting softly beside him, and Kilo scanning the darkness with alert sensors. The twin moons barely lit the dusty plains, making the shadows long and unpredictable. Eli's hand rested on the old staff he had armed himself with, while Lyra crouched behind a haystack inside the barn, clutching her stomach nervously. "They're coming," Lyra whispered. "I can feel it." Eli nodded. "I know. Just stay low and stay quiet." A faint hum started in the sky, low at first, almost like distant wind, but Eli recognized it immediately, the unmistakable sound of sky ships. The kind that could hover, shoot, and vanish before anyone had a chance to react. He glanced toward the horizon. A fleet of small metallic ships reflected the moonlight, their sleek shapes moving with deadly precision. They were not human. They were drones, designed for tracking, capturing, eliminating. Eli's jaw tightened. "All right, Kilo, activate perimeter sensors. Dust, stay close. We're not leaving the ranch tonight." The drones arrived quickly, their engines silent except for the faint hum. They hovered above the field, scanning for movement. The first one descended toward the barn, its sensors locked onto Lyra. Eli held his breath. Every second counted. He activated the hidden turrets he had rigged around the property. Laser pulses shot out, cutting the night with brilliant streaks of light. The first drone attempted to dodge, but was caught off guard by the ranch's ancient defense systems. Sparks flew, and it crashed to the ground with a loud metallic clang. Lyra gasped, clinging to the edge of the barn. "Ellie, they're still coming." "Yes," Eli muttered, "and we're ready for them." The next wave of drones descended, faster and more precise. Eli moved like a shadow, ducking behind crates and activating small defense panels. Dust reared up, striking the nearest drone with a powerful kick, sending it spinning into the dirt. A Kilo lunged, using its electric sensors to disable another drone, sparks flying in the cold night air. But then one drone landed inside the barn. Eli froze. Lyra's eyes widened as it moved toward her, metallic limbs silent and precise. "No!" Eli shouted, rushing in. He swung the staff, striking the drone's side. Sparks erupted, but it was fast. The machine grabbed his staff and threw it aside. Eli dove, rolling under its metallic legs. Lyra screamed, her water breaking at the same moment. Eli's heart leapt into his throat. She was about to give birth in the middle of an attack. "Stay calm," Eli told her, though he knew he wasn't calm himself. "Focus on breathing. Kilo." Kilo jumped, ramming the drone and sending it crashing into a stack of hay. Eli grabbed Lyra's hand, guiding her to the hidden underground ladder. "We're going below," he said. "Now!" They slid down the ladder into the dimly lit underground room where the ranch's hidden technology waited. The holographic screens flickered as the drones above tried to penetrate the reinforced doors. Eli activated more defense turrets from the control panel, the lights reflecting in his determined eyes. Lyra groaned, exhaustion and fear showing on her face. I can't do this," she whispered. "Yes, you can," Eli said firmly. "You've survived this far, haven't you? Now we finish it." She nodded weakly, gripping his arm as contractions continued. Eli guided her to a secure corner. He activated a drone from the room, smaller, faster, and agile. "This one will help," he said. The drone hummed and hovered near Lyra, its sensors ready to defend her from any intruder that might find the ladder. Above them, the drones adapted. They were organized, coordinated. Laser fire pierced the night sky, striking parts of the barn, lighting it in brief flashes of chaos. Eli's old ranch might have been abandoned, but now it was a battlefield, its machinery alive and defending its new inhabitants. One drone broke through the perimeter, moving swiftly toward the underground access. Eli intercepted it with a control panel, activating a trap that sent it spinning against the walls. Sparks flew as the drone twitched, disabled for a moment but not completely destroyed. Eli knew the attackers were relentless. They would keep coming until Lyra and her unborn child were theirs. Hours passed in this tense struggle. Eli rotated drones, recharged defenses, and kept Lyra calm, whispering encouragement and stories from Earth's old frontier days to distract her from fear. He realized something important. The ranch wasn't just a piece of land or old machinery. It was alive in its own way, defending life, recognizing the importance of the child growing inside Lyra. Finally, as the first light of dawn crept over the horizon, the drones above seemed to retreat, regrouping in the distance. Eli allowed himself a shaky breath. "They're gone, for now," he said, though he knew it wouldn't be permanent. Lyra's water had broken completely and the labor was difficult. Eli and the protective drone worked together, keeping the area clean and safe. Sweat ran down Eli's face, his muscles aching, but he didn't stop. The child's first cries filled the underground room, weak at first but growing stronger. Eli felt something he hadn't felt in decades: hope. "She's perfect," Lyra whispered, tears streaming down her face. How did we survive this?" Eli looked down at the newborn wrapped in a blanket, fragile yet alive. "We fought," he said softly. "And the ranch helped. This place, it chose us. You and this child are part of its future now." For a moment, the underground room was silent, except for the baby's cries and the soft hum of the ranch's machinery. Outside, the retreating drones prepared for another attack, but Eli knew that each encounter would only make them stronger. They had survived the night. Now they had time to rebuild, recover, and plan. As Lyra rested, exhausted but smiling, Eli activated the old communication system. Static-filled images of the surrounding plains appeared on the screen. He could see the remnants of the attacking fleet far off in the distance, their sensors scanning. But he also saw something else. Small hints of other abandoned colonies, hidden caches of tech, and secret routes through the plains. The frontier was vast, and they had the advantage of knowing the land. Eli sat beside Lyra, holding her hand as the baby slept.
"We're not safe yet,"
he said, "but we have something they don't. We have each other. And we have the ranch," Lyra smiled weakly. I believe you. I know now that we can survive this. Together." The morning sun rose fully, casting long shadows across the battered ranch. Sparks from the destroyed drones glinted faintly, the ruins of battle still smoking in the dawn light. Eli knew that the Sky Fleet, or whatever remained of it, would return. But for now, he allowed himself a small moment of relief. He looked down at the child, tiny fingers gripping his hand instinctively. "We'll protect you," he whispered, "no matter what it takes." The ranch hummed softly beneath them, alive with technology and purpose. The barn, once abandoned and silent, now pulsed with life. It had defended them when no one else could. And Eli realized something profound. This land, these machines, and the child were connected. The frontier was no longer just a place to live. It was a battlefield, a sanctuary, and a new beginning all at once. And somewhere in the distant sky, the metallic shapes of the fleet lingered, watching, calculating, waiting. But Eli Tanner would not back down. The ranch, the girl, and the child had become his family, and he would fight to the last breath to keep them safe. The horizon glowed with the promise of a new day, but the battle was far from over. Eli tightened his grip on Lyra's hand and looked out across the plains. "Whatever comes next," he said, "we'll face it together, and we'll survive." For the first time in years, Eli felt alive. And not just alive, for the first time, he felt necessary. And in the quiet hum of the ranch, a bond formed that would not break. The first light of dawn spilled over the ranch, casting golden rays across the battered fields. The night had been long and dangerous, but for the first time Eli Tanner allowed himself to breathe. Lyra sat in the corner of the barn, cradling her newborn child, wrapped tightly in a soft blanket. The baby's small, bright eyes opened and blinked at the morning light, as if it already understood the importance of the world around it. Eli walked beside them, his boots crunching on the dry soil. Dust pawed the ground happily, sensing a temporary peace, while Kilo circled the barn, sensors still scanning for hidden threats. The ruins of the drones littered the ground, their metal bodies sparking faintly under the sunlight. The attack had been fierce, but they had survived. And in surviving, Eli realized, they had discovered something remarkable. The ranch was more than land, it was alive. "You did it," Lyra whispered, her voice trembling with relief. "We survived. I didn't think we would."
Eli shook his head, smiling faintly.
"No," he said softly. "We didn't just survive. We fought, and the ranch helped us. It knew we were meant to protect you and the child." The baby cooed, a small sound of life in the quiet aftermath of chaos. Eli leaned closer, studying the tiny fingers and soft, delicate face. He had spent years feeling empty, longing for a family, a reason to care for something beyond himself. And now, in this little life, he saw the future he had always dreamed of, even if he hadn't known it existed. "Do you know what it means?" Lyra asked, still holding the baby. "The child, it isn't just human. That's why they were after me. They want it for something special. I don't fully understand, but the Sky Fleet, or whoever they are, they know the child is important." Eli's mind raced. He had suspected as much during the attacks, seeing the way the drones had relentlessly hunted her, targeting the unborn child with precision, and now, in the light of day, the truth settled into his heart. This child represented hope that stretched beyond their small ranch, beyond their lives. He crouched beside Lyra and the baby. "Then we'll protect that hope. No one will take it from us. Not now, not ever." As the day wore on, Eli explored the ranch further, examining the underground tech and systems they had barely used during the attack. The hidden consoles and holographic screens flickered to life at his touch, revealing maps of surrounding plains, old outposts, and communication logs from the previous colony that had lived here. The ranch had once been a center for advanced research, combining agriculture, robotics, and life sciences. Somehow, it had remained dormant, waiting for someone to awaken it, and now it had chosen him. "Look at this," Eli said, showing Lyra a map with glowing markers. "The ranch isn't just a home. It's a network, old paths, hidden caches, routes to escape, if they come back. And maybe even allies. We're not completely alone." Lyra studied the map, her eyes wide. "Allies," Eli nodded. "Other abandoned outposts? Other hidden tech? If we need it, we can connect with it. We can defend this place.
We can survive."
For the first time since arriving at the ranch, Lyra smiled fully. Exhaustion softened her face, but determination shone in her eyes. "Then we'll fight together. Me, you, the ranch, and the child." Days passed, and Eli, Lyra, and their newborn settled into a rhythm. The ranch, alive in subtle ways, seemed to anticipate their needs. Water systems adjusted automatically, food dispensers worked quietly, and the drones patrolled the perimeter without prompt. Dust and Kilo became guardians, more aware than ever of potential danger, but peace was fragile. One evening, as the twin moons rose again, Eli noticed a glint in the sky, far off but unmistakable. A squad of metallic shapes hovered, watching, waiting. The Sky Fleet had returned. Eli didn't panic. He had a plan. "We're ready for them," he said, standing beside Lyra. "They think they can take this child, but they don't know the ranch is alive, and they don't know how determined we are." The first drone descended toward the barn, moving swiftly and silently. Eli activated the hidden turrets and defensive drones, creating a web of energy pulses and barriers.
The attacking fleet seemed surprised, their precision faltering against the ranch's technology.
Eli watched as the drones struggled against the automated defenses, giving him precious time to prepare a counterattack. "Lyra, stay inside," he commanded. She obeyed, holding the baby tightly while he moved outside, ready to confront the intruders directly. Dust reared up beside him, and Kilo's sensors flared as they prepared to defend their home. The sky battle was intense. Energy pulses lit up the night, casting shadows across the plains. Eli used every advantage the ranch provided, from hidden laser turrets to automated traps that sent attacking drones crashing to the ground. Each strike was precise, coordinated with the ranch's systems, as if the land itself guided his actions. Hours passed, and slowly, the fleet began to retreat. They had underestimated the ranch, underestimated Eli, and underestimated Lyra's determination. As the last of the drones vanished into the horizon, Eli allowed himself to smile, exhausted but victorious. Lyra emerged from the barn holding the baby. "We did it," she said softly. No, Eli corrected gently.
We survived, and we will keep surviving.
This ranch, this land, it's our home now. And we're ready for whatever comes next. In the days that followed, Eli and Lyra rebuilt parts of the ranch. They repaired fences, cleaned the barns, and fortified defenses even further. The child grew stronger each day, and Eli marveled at its unusual abilities, sensing danger, reacting quickly, and even influencing the ranch's machinery in subtle ways. He realized that Lyra had been right. This child was extraordinary, a bridge between humans and the advanced technology that once thrived on this planet. As the sun set one evening, painting the plains in fiery red, Eli sat on the porch, holding the baby while Lyra leaned against his shoulder. Dusk grazed nearby, and Kilo rested at their feet. For a moment, the chaos of the past weeks felt like a distant memory. Do you think they'll come back? Lyra asked quietly. Maybe, Eli admitted. But we're ready now. We have each other. And this ranch, it's more than just land. It's alive. And it will protect us. The baby cooed, reaching out with tiny hands, and Eli smiled. We have a family now, he said softly. Not just us, but something bigger. Something worth protecting. From the horizon, faint lights shimmered. Eli noticed them but did not panic. He knew they were being watched, but this time he was no longer alone or defenseless. The ranch, the land, and the child were all allies now. Together they would face whatever came next. That night, as the twin moons rose, Eli and Lyra stood outside the barn, the baby between them. They watched the horizon silently, aware that the future would bring challenges, but confident in their bond. The ranch hummed beneath their feet, alive with quiet energy, as if acknowledging their courage and loyalty. Eli felt a deep sense of purpose he had never known. The empty years of solitude were gone, replaced by responsibility, hope, and love. Lyra rested her head against his shoulder, and the baby slept peacefully, unaware of the battles fought and the dangers that had passed. And somewhere in the distance, the Skyfleet observed, knowing that this small, forgotten ranch and the family within it had changed the rules of the frontier. They would not easily claim what they sought. Eli Tanner smiled, looking out over the plains, feeling the hum of the ranch beneath him. He whispered to Lyra, "This is just the beginning. Our home, our family, and the future we protect. Nothing can take that from us." For the first time, the frontier felt safe, alive, and full of possibilities. And in the quiet hum of the ranch, the child stirred, tiny hands reaching toward the sky, a symbol of hope for the days to come. The ranch, once abandoned and forgotten, was now a fortress, a home, and a promise that life, courage, and love could survive even the harshest corners of the universe. Eli, Lyra, and the child stood together, ready to face whatever came next, and the plains, wide and empty, seemed to whisper back,